All right, so I guess I can just start talking. I might have to move around for a second because I'm in my garage, has a sensor light on it that doesn't have a switch, and so, but I'm in my garage, my little space, as you can see, got some of my tools, my bikes, some of the races I've done, but this is just kind of an indication of just kind of all the shit that I've done over the years. And I guess, for a while now, my wife has been telling me that I need to write down my why. I need to go and put some videos together about like what it is that I'm doing, what it is that I want to do, who am I, just a little bit about me. Not a lot of people really know my fitness background and kind of like the fitness journey that I've been on. And it's been quite a roller coaster of things that I've done, from bodybuilding stuff to endurance stuff, and so extreme sports, and so, I mean, it's been all over the place. And I'm one of those people that, as I tell my story here, you'll realize that, I've gotten bored so easily over the years, and so it's been a real struggle for me to grasp something and hold on to it, because I've always felt like I've needed to please people, kind of doing what people want me to do, and so depending on the group of people I'm around, that's kind of the stuff that I'll do. And so got an addictive personality that, like, when I get into something new, I kind of like fall all into it. I want to learn about it, I want to buy all the new gear, I want to set everything up, but I do that a lot. I do that a lot with all sorts of things, and I don't really think anybody really knows my story too well, and so just kind of wanted to dive into that. It's kind of personal too. Done a lot of shit, done a lot of physical stuff to my body that I'm like, God damn, I can't believe that I used to do that, because that's not just really where I want to be now. I did those things because of the environments that I was in. But like my fitness journey and like my health and sports and everything, I played soccer at a really young age. I think I started when I was like 3 or 4. I started in Hawaii when we lived out there because my father was on a military base. And it's interesting because as I got older, I just did the sports that everybody else in my family was already doing. So I was the youngest of 4 kids, so my older brother and sisters, they played soccer, so I played soccer. Then my brother played football, and so I got into football. And I feel like at that young age, I really didn't know what I was doing. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being in the sport. I enjoyed doing those things. And as I got older, my mind started to change a lot. And what I mean by it is, like, I just started to recognize like how I felt in team sports. I was quiet. I was, like a real shy kid. I wasn't the cool kid. And so I never really felt like I fit in a lot. So growing up where I did in Bountiful, Utah, I just, I had such a diverse friends. There was the rich kids that lived up on the hill, then there was the kids that lived down lower in the valley, and I kind of right in between, and I sort of hung out with everybody, whether it was gothic kids, athletic kids, no matter what they were doing, religious kids, because in Utah a lot of people are LDS, and there's just all these different environments and dynamics of people, and it was so diverse, and I just kind of fit in with everybody. And so I really didn't have like a very clear identity of who I was. I just did kind of what everyone else was doing, because I ended up being kind of good at everything. I was never great at one thing, but it's easy for me to transition and adapt and just kind of be good at everything. And so, I hung out with a lot of people, I did a lot of different things. It was like when I was about 10 years old or 11 years old is when I saw my first bodybuilding magazine, and that's where everything changed. There was a bodybuilding magazine that my brother had, because he was into lifting weights, and we were into football, we were playing sports at the time, and there's 2 guys, one Ronnie Coleman, the other one Jay Cutler, and they were just incredibly huge and massive, and they just powerful physiques, right? And I looked at that in such awe and was like, holy smokes, like that is who I want to be. Like I want to look like that, like I want to get to that level. Like those guys had such incredible physiques, and at that time, being such a young age, I didn't realize all the hard work that went into that, Whether those guys were on anabolic steroids or not, like the dedication and time to their diets, the training, and everything that went into that, I didn't obviously wrap my head around all that stuff. I just was like, that's how I want to look, and that's how big I want to be, because it's like when you walk into a room, it's an awe factor. People are like, oh my gosh, like you're the attention, but I was quiet, and I don't know why I ever wanted the attention on me, because I'm a really quiet person. I just kind of like to keep to myself. I like to keep to the back of the room, and I would consider myself an observer. And so when I started lifting weights at the age of 12, when I was allowed to go to the gym, my dad got me a gym membership. I was still playing football at the time. And as I got older with football, since my brother played football at a higher grade level, I got compared to him a lot. Even though we didn't play the same position and he was an all-state running back in high school, I started to get compared to him. And that kind of got a little annoying because it just wasn't me. It's not really what I wanted to do or wanted to be. And so I felt like it got to a point where I was just playing sports to please my parents, to please my father. And if I didn't, I felt guilty or I felt shame. And so there was a lot of that growing up with me. There was a lot of guilt, there was a lot of shame if I felt like I either did not fit in with those types of people or was doing the things that those groups of people that I was hanging out with were doing. And so it was really hard for me to say no to things, and I just did things just to please people. And, you know, that's like one of the worst things that you can do. And so I was playing football, I was lifting weights, and, you know, like I was like, this is my thing, you know, like I went from these team sports and I started to lifting weights, and it felt good because when you're lifting weights and you're training on your own, there's a sense of individuality where you can, you know, like your personal records, like those are yours, you know, nobody else assists in those things. You know, just everything was based on your effort that you put in. Like I didn't have to rely on anybody else in the team sport, and so that's where bodybuilding really started I get a grasp of, and I really enjoyed it and loved it at that point because it was my thing. You know, no one could take that from me. I didn't need another person to be involved for me to succeed and have results and produce. So I started to attract to that a lot. And then when I was about like a mid-teen, I think it was going into like right after my sophomore year, I just wanted to stop playing football. I didn't enjoy it. I felt like it was taking time away from hanging out with people because, you know, at that young age, I was just more interested in hanging out and doing fun things than playing sports. Just wasn't my thing. You know, I didn't want to go to the football team. I didn't want to be on the football team. I didn't want to go to all the meetings and all the practices and the early morning workouts. And it just was not something that I wanted to do. I was a disciplined person in the activities that I enjoyed doing, but I was not a disciplined person in the things that I felt like I was doing for other people. And so me and one of my friends, I won't mention his name, but he and I got really into lifting weights, and we started getting stronger and bigger, and we felt like, man, like, you know, like what are the pros doing, you know? And then you start to learn, like as you get a little bit older, like, oh, these guys take steroids, and you don't really wrap your mind around like what actual steroids are at that young of age, I don't think. You're just like, oh, they get you big, you know, really than like actually having a true understanding of what actually like steroids and anabolics do for your body. But with my older brother and his friends, they were extremely successful athletes in high school at the time. I knew from me and my really good friend, like his brother and my brother, I had heard and I knew were doing steroids, right? They were huge, they were massive, they were strong. My brother was breaking records in high school for running as a running back, and I mean, just an incredible feat, right? And that is when I was about 15 years old at the time, and you know, we had talked about like, oh man, what if we did steroids, and what if we, you know, did these types of things, and it was just like, dude, that shit's crazy. Like, why would we do that, you know? But at the same time, it's like, man, but if we do that, we'll get those type of results that we see in the magazines, then we'll have more attention on us, and we'll have more girls that maybe give us attention. And as like a quiet, shy person, I never really got a lot of attention, you know? I never really felt like girls wanted to hang out with me, or like, you know, girls really wanted to give me attention. I really didn't know how people felt about me because I was so quiet and I really didn't want to talk that much. Had lots of friends and I was super social, but I was just I was the quiet one of the group. And so, but it came a point to where there was one point we had the option, or, you know, we had the ability to get ourselves on a cycle of steroids, and we made the decision to do it. And I believe I was 16 at the time. So I was a grade ahead in school, which did not help because I was easily influenced by all the older kids. So I was a grade ahead, which, you know, was definitely not a good thing at all for me as a very young kid, just, you know, especially being quiet and following the pack of people. But we got ourselves those anabolics, and me and my buddy, we started doing them, right? We would, do it for each other in the butt and the shoulders, and all of a sudden, within a couple weeks, things started changing. We got stronger, we got bigger. We didn't have a really good idea of maybe long-term medical things of what it was gonna do for us, but we took that chance, and it's just so crazy to even think now as a 31-year-old, I think about making that decision at the age of 16, man, that was a really stupid thing. But, it's part of my journey and it's who I am, but it's just at that time I believed that was going to be a fix to maybe some of the things I was missing in life, right? But it definitely was not. And so doing that, it led down a lot of trouble. I was getting frustrated a lot. I was angry. I got in a bunch of trouble at that time. Drugs and alcohol started coming in, and there was I've never really talked about this, about my drug and alcohol abuse as a teenager. But I drank, I smoked weed, I did cocaine, and those are things that I look back on. I'm okay, I'm glad I made it out. But those were some really hard lessons at that time. I got in trouble with the anabolic steroids from a probation officer because I was on probation, and that really hurt. That definitely did not help out. I got locked up for about 45 days in a juvenile detention center just because of that. I was on probation for something else, and when I got my probation officers came over to my house and they found that bottle and a syringe, shit happened, and I had to learn my lesson and I had to pay the consequences. And so that kind of shifted a lot of things at that time. But what I really got from that experience as a teenager and doing those things is, those things and those extra things did not help me propel me into the future anymore. I mean, they definitely led me in the direction. I have a beautiful wife and kids now, and so I was lucky to come out of that, but those were really dark times. They're times that I don't think even on camera, this is the first time I've ever talked about this, honestly. And, it was tough. It was really tough to go through. It was really tough to experience. It's kind of one of those places where you feel like the world is ending, but it's not. There's so many more opportunities out, but I couldn't see that at that time because it seemed like such a dark moment in my life. And so after all that happened, I ended up moving out of Utah, and I went up to the Northwest. I met a really great friend, my buddy Roger, who we just snowboarded. We did extreme sports. We wakeboarding and snowboarding, and we did all sorts of fun stuff. And that's kind of the life I lived for a few years, because I snowboarded as a kid, got into that because I was just okay, I'm gonna get away from the gym. I just want to be cool. I want to have fun. I just want to enjoy myself. I want to be on a skateboard. I want to be on a snowboard, and I really want to separate myself from the gym. And I definitely did at that time because there was just so much darkness that was related to the gym that I needed to escape and get out of. And so as the years went by, that's when I met my wife and stuff, and we were still snowboarding a lot at the time, and we ended up moving to Phoenix, Arizona. So about this time, I'm 23, 24 years old. I know I'm kind of jumping around a lot, so it might be hard to follow the timeline a little bit, but it's just I've really never talked about this. So I don't really know how to lay out the timeline all too well. So I'm 23, 24, and my wife and I, we ended up having our first child. At that point, I was bartending, so I really didn't have any job stability. I really wasn't sure what I was going to do long term. I had a lot of ideas of what I wanted to do or where I wanted to be, but I truly just had no idea what I was going to do. And so I'm working at a shoe store, I'm bartending. My wife came into the shoe store one day and she's like, "Hey, I got you an interview at this gym." Because she knew that I loved fitness, because I had always ran or biked, or I kind of went to the gym on my own still. So I was still kind of active and involved in the gym environment, but that was just recreational use. I really had no goals. I was never into bodybuilding. I just liked the idea of being big, right? Having big arms, big legs, big chest, big back. And that was really the only goal ever. I never had the idea of I wanted to compete on stage or I wanted to go to the Olympia. I just wanted to be big. And I think I wanted to be big for that awe factor because I didn't get a lot of attention as a kid. So I felt like, if I'm big and muscular, I'm going to get a lot of attention. And I think that's where my mindset was when I was a child, and so I kind of had that vision even as like a young adult here in my 20s. And so I ended up started working at this gym, Freedom Fitness in Cave Creek, which apparently is no longer Freedom Fitness. But that's kind of where I just started learning. I started really diving into the fitness world, right? I knew a lot about fitness. I knew a lot about exercises and routines prior to going into that job. But that job is really where I honed everything in. It's where I got all my certifications, my NASM, my National Academy of Sports Medicine, my certified personal trainer, my corrective exercise specialist, my performance enhancement specialist, and a few smaller of their little random things that they have as well. I never went to college for any of it, but in my opinion, I thought that experience overrides the college experience when it comes to training, because it does have a lot to do with experience. There's a fly in here. And so that's where that started, right? I was working at the gym, things were going great. I was learning a lot, and there were some people at the gym that I worked with that were pretty deep into bodybuilding, right? They competed. I worked with a gentleman called Rusty Jeffers, and he actually was an IFBB pro, and so I'm surrounded by humongous guys again, right? Surrounded by this environment of these guys that just have incredible physiques. They're shredded, they're massive. And I got it in my head again. I'm like, okay, man, like I'm ready to get big again. I'm ready to either go on stage or I'm ready to do some type of anabolic to where it's like, I'm ready just to get big. Like, I just want to be big again. And that just wasn't really a great idea. So I got connected again, pretty easy connections at that time. And I started using anabolics again. And of course, I started growing again. I was a big kid. So right now I'm at 200 pounds. My heaviest I got was 240 pounds. So I grew a lot, I was big, and it was just uncomfortable. I thought I liked it, I thought I liked the way I looked, but now that I look back at those photos, I'm like, God damn, like, I look horrible. Like, that's not a comfortable life, like not fitting into cars very well, fitting into clothes was really crappy. And it just wasn't fun at all. So, but again, in my mind, I thought that everything was great and okay. And so, at that time, I had a mountain bike, so I was mountain biking. I was lifting weights. I was doing anabolics, and I did a couple cycles of them. We ended up moving away from Arizona for a couple years, and at that point, for 2 years actually. At that point, I didn't have any drugs in my system at that time. So I kind of cleaned up. I lost a little bit of weight and size. And I felt good, felt healthier. I got back into smoking weed when we moved back up to Washington, which wasn't a good thing at that time, just because dark, depressing, getting high and stuff, that just kind of wasn't really a good combination of things at that time. And so we ended up, after 2 years, we ended up coming back to Arizona, right? So we had our child, we went to Utah, we had a son, then we went to Washington for a year, and then we just really hated it there. And we just, the lifestyle that we lived when we first lived there, like snowboarding and just kind of that hippie lifestyle, that just wasn't us anymore. So we moved back to Arizona. I went back to the same gym, training at the same gym, and everything seemed great. And of course, as soon as I get back, the first thing I want to do is do another cycle of anabolics, right? I want to get big again. I'm in Arizona, like the sun shines out, the pool, it's time to get jacked. It's kind of, big arms, sun's out, guns out. And I had in my mind that I just wanted to get big again, and so I started the anabolics again. And that lasted probably like 5 or 6 months of doing that, and I went from like 200 pounds, like 210 pounds, and I went all the way back up to 240 again. So I blew up really quick. And I wasn't like a shredded 240, I was just a thick individual, right? Big arms, big barrel chest, really big legs. Not fat, just really thick. And it was not attractive at all. It was just a thick, when I look at photos, I'm just grossed out by the fact that I even look like that. And so I did that, and then I got out of that again, and I haven't done anything since. It was just something where I just was not feeling well. my body wasn't feeling right. It wasn't getting the results that I wanted to. I think that I wasn't doing the entire thing to 100% to where I was getting the results that I really should have been getting. I was just dabbling in it, playing around in it, and it just, my felt like my body just started to just kind of just, you know, I felt like I was gonna die at one point. Like I started having chest pains, but it turned out just to be all muscular pains. So I was lifting and growing so much that I used to get a lot of chest pain through my intercostal muscles. I used to get my shoulder pains because I was lifting such heavy weight. I was squatting a ton of weight. I think at the most I was Hatfield squatting 600 pounds, leg pressing well over 1,000 pounds, bench pressing, you know, almost 400 pounds, and just, I was doing a lot of things that are just like, ugh. Like I look back and I'm like, what the hell was the point? Like now that like where I am in my life, I'm like, why is lifting weights so important? Why is doing this and like having these PRs like so important to me? And they never were important to me. I just, again, I was in that environment of the gym, had all these influences around me, and that's just kind of the environment that I'm in. Like I get so clicked into the environments that I get in still to this day that it's like if I'm in a healthy environment, I just gotta stay there. I can't get myself in a bad environment. If I get myself in a bad environment, I'm gonna be influenced to do that shit again. And so that was kind of the shitstorm of everything. And now we're here today, it's 2018. Last year of 2017, I bought my mountain bike right here, and I bought running shoes, and I bought a watch, I bought a Garmin watch, and I just started moving. I started putting in miles. I started to get into endurance, and this is kind of where I've been the last year as far as like my endurance and just kind of just getting out and just doing shit, right? Just biking and cycling and mountain biking and running. So last July I bought a mountain bike, and my goal was to do mountain bike races, and I had signed up for the Cave Creek Classic in November. So I had a couple months. It was like a 24-mile track. Had a couple months to train, and you know, I was just cycling, having fun. In September, I bought my running shoes and I bought my watch, and I started putting in the miles, and I started watching YouTube a lot, right? I wanted to see like bodybuilders getting into endurance, right? Because I was still like, I think I was like 220 at the time, maybe 215. Here's my half marathon, if you see these. These are my 3 half marathons that I ran, and then some bike races as well. In Chris Gethin of Caged Muscle, in the month of November, the same month I was going to do my bike race, he did what was called like the Gethin's 100, right? So run to 100. So run 100 miles in 1 month, which was like 3.5 miles per day. And at the time between September and October, I was putting in a few miles, maybe like 10 to 12 miles a week. I really wasn't running a lot. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to commit to this. Because when I don't ever commit to shit, I always want to dabble in stuff, and it's like I need to get in my own head. Like if I have goals, I end up not doing them. But I could go out and do it on my own if I just went out and did it just for the hell of it. But when I set goals, I'm like, ugh, I don't know. Like goals are weird with me sometimes, because sometimes I just don't want to do them because I'm like, I hate when I feel like I have to do something. I want to just do it just to do it, right? If I want to go run 100 miles, I'm going to go run 100 miles in a month because I want to, not because I set a goal to. And so I set a goal, which was really difficult for me, and I just started running, started pounding away on the pavement, started feeling really good, actually. And most everybody that I knew, and at that time, what's really interesting is last October, my wife retired me from the gym and to come home and stay with our kids and to work at home with our business that she's got going on. And so that was amazing to start. That whole entire first month of me coming home, I just ran and I exercised and I focused on me. And I really put in a lot of effort into just that aspect of it. Most everyone at the gym knew me as like really big and bulky guy, and after the month of November went by, I did my 100 miles. So I started with 3.5 miles. My very last run of that day was 14 miles. So in 1 month, I went from running 3.5 miles every day for like the first couple weeks. That last week, my last day of running, I did 14 miles in one run. And I realized something, that it is the mind over the body all day long. Your body can do things that it is so capable of. I mean, your body's so capable of doing things that that you can do a lot of shit. You just have to make sure that your mind is in the right spot and that you can do it. And so, you know, you just sometimes have to just get out there and just do it. And I did 14 miles that last day, and I think I lost 10 pounds in the month of November. And so people started seeing pictures of me, and they were like, oh my gosh, John, you're getting so skinny, this and that. And so someone from being like 240, 230, always walking around the gym, training clients and doing this stuff. Hey, sweetie. Hey, got my daughter in here. Hey, you know what? This is impromptu, right? First video I'm doing here in the garage. Hazel will have my daughter come in here. You going to bed? You going to bed? No? Okay. Well, anyways, I'm just telling a story real quick. So as I got done with the month of November and I got done running, I started, you know, people were like, holy smoke, Sean, you're losing all this weight, you're looking great, and that made me feel so good. When I was big and I was bulky, no one ever told me I looked good. And so I look back at it now and I'm like, man, why did I ever do the anabolics? Why was I doing those things? Because it just wasn't that attractive of a lifestyle, right? If you're in bodybuilding, you do certain things like that, like that's kind of your lifestyle. But you have to be shredded at the same time, I think, to look good at that big of a size. And so, which is really interesting. But after the month of November happened, Christmas came around, I was still running, I was doing some cycling and stuff. And then hey Payne, not right now, please. Just trying to record something, thank you, sweetie. I just kept at the running and stuff. And at that time, we were kind of transitioning out of the home that we were in. And January of this year, 2018 came around. And I think the month of January, with all the running and training I was doing, I went from like 195 pounds to 184 pounds. So if you can imagine being 240 pounds, I lost 56 pounds in like a matter of, I don't know, like less than 6 months. And so it was crazy. It's just crazy to even think about. It's crazy. But you know, all through this whole entire time while I was running and cycling and stuff, I had this idea in my mind that something that I captured at a really young age. I used to watch the Xterra Ironman races, or just the Xterra series. I don't believe it's an Ironman series. But I used to watch the Xterra series, and watching those guys run and swim and bike, and I was just like, what incredible athletes, you know, like I want to do an endurance sport, I want to do a triathlon. I still have not yet to do one, but it's been on my mind for the past year, and that's kind of why I'm doing this blog, right? But I wanted to come out and tell you guys like who I am, right? I want to tell you all the crappy things I've done in my life, physically to my body, that I just regret. Well, you know, it's really hard to like say that you regret things in your past, but you know, things that I just should not have probably done to my body. Needles I probably shouldn't have stuck into my body with, you know, anabolics in, but you know, I did those things and I learned a lot of lessons, and now I'm on this journey to want to do endurance sports, and it's just where I'm at today, you know. I really want to be prepared. I want to train for an Ironman. I bought, right here, I got my time trial bike. It's a Felt DA3. So this is going to be my triathlon bike, and I'm ready to put in some miles on it. Tomorrow, I'll make a video when I get my indoor trainer, because, you know, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to piece everything together so that I can do an Ironman, a half Ironman in 2019. That is my ultimate goal. I love running. I've been running all this year. I did 100 miles in the month of May. I've done 2 half marathons. I did one in May of 2018 this year, and I just did another one in July of 2018, just about a month and a half ago. And so I have a 3rd half marathon set for October, which I'll do again. And you know, that's kind of where I'm doing, just making sure I'm getting my miles in. I haven't started swimming yet. It's something that I'm going to be planning on doing. And so this is my journey, man. That's all the crap I've gone through. I'm ready to show you guys everything that I know. Just a little bit about me. I know I didn't dig into that too deep yet, but you know, I have a lot of certifications for training. Also had I don't anymore because it just expired. But no, it actually doesn't expire until December. is my license for massage therapy. So I'm a massage therapist. As you can tell, I've got my table here. I've got a lot of therapy tools that I'll be showing you guys, my hyper ices, my foam rollers. I've got my teeter hang-ups. I've got my TRX, my bands, kettlebell stuff in here. I've got my weighted vests I'll be showing you guys and doing some things with. But I wanted to come on. I wanted to share with you kind of just everything that I've gone through. There's a whole new side of me, way more positive side of me now, of all the things that I love to do, hanging out with my kids, cycling, running. My wife and kids are prepping for a 5Ks and duathlons for the month of September here in 2018. That's just kind of what, it's kind of where my life is going now, is this endurance life where I just want to push my body. I want to push my mind. I know I'm capable of a lot of things, and I feel like I've held back a lot. I feel like I've held back a lot because I feel like I've had to please other people for a really long time. I've had to please my parents. I've had to please friends groups and cliques of people that I've been around. I do better when I'm by myself and I'm alone, where I can just lock into what I'm doing. I can get training. That triathlete that I really follow and really respect, because just kind of the struggles, as well as Lionel Sanders. He went from a drug addict to a triathlete. I would never have called myself a drug addict as far as like heavy drugs and stuff. I did those things recreationally, but I don't think I had a big enough issue where I ever had to go to rehabs and do different things. But it's just, fitness has saved my life, you guys, and that's why I'm on here. I'm metabolic savage, Jonny Pump, whatever you want to call me. I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to review products that I personally own, personally use, like this Hyper Ice, right? This Hyper Ice foam roller, it's amazing. So, I want you guys to watch. If you're watching this still at 31 minutes, thank you so much, done a lot of shit, I've been through a lot of shit, but, I'm on a new journey. I'm excited, just want to do it, dude. I'm ready for a change. I'm ready to start documenting all the positive things in my life. I don't look at those negative things and think like, oh, like I have to be super depressed about all that stuff. That is just stuff that's I've done, I moved on from, I've accepted, and now I'm on a new journey. I'm a new person. I'm not the same John as I used to be. I'm an adult. I've got 3 kids. I've got a wife. We live up here in Idaho now, and it's a beautiful country up here. I'm blessed. I've got a lot of fun tools and stuff that I can show you guys. Just all my experience, I'm planning on doing this vlog called Try or Fail. So TRI or fail. And it's just going to be my journey. It's going to be my journey for my triathlons. It's going to be my journey for just showing you guys everything that I know. I'm going to link products so that you guys can kind of see what I'm using. If you want to purchase that stuff, awesome, because it's going to be stuff that I use. It's going to be stuff that I absolutely live by, like all of my tools, some of my training gear, my bikes, my shoes that I run with, all my hydration things that I use, supplementations that I use. I have a lot to offer you guys, and I'm excited to share that all with you. But I felt like I needed to kind of share the dark side of my past, of all the bullshit that I went through, and all the lessons that I learned from that, and who John Ramos used to be, because that's not who I am now, but those are lessons, that's a part of me that'll always stay with me. Those are just things I'm going to learn from, things I'm going to be better from, and I'm excited for this journey. I'm excited to share it with you guys. So yeah, if you're still watching, thanks for watching. And yeah, I'm going to try to be as frequent as possible, sharing, updating, actually training sessions, reviews and stuff. So I'm going to do my best to try to keep up with all that, since I'm kind of the mom of the household. Since my wife is the rock star, she does all the business stuff, although I do help her. But she's just an absolute rock star, which allows me to, do all the things that I want to do, and also keeps me home to hang out with my kids. I'm blessed, I'm fortunate. Super fortunate to hang out with my kids as much as I do, and so, but yeah, thanks you guys for watching. This is Metabolic Savage, Jonny Pump. We're out.